doing the normal physio that the doctor had prescribed. I think it was once every 2 weeks, and I just didn't get the sense that it was enough, that it was pushing our daughter enough to reach her full potential. And then I did some research and found ApexaQLA, and in the first session I saw Fabian push our daughter to her limits, and I thought, this is it. So I was on some forums for parents that have children similar to our daughter, and they were talking a lot about hypotonia, which is what our daughter has, and they were talking about things that change their children's lives. A lot of them are based in the US, and they kept talking about something called DMI. So I was sitting in a doctor's office somewhere. I googled DMI, didn't know what it meant, and then I googled DMI in Switzerland, and immediately ApexaQLA came up. So I thought, okay, I'll send them a little message. And I think it was 10 minutes later, I was getting a text message and a call from Remco. So it just felt very right. The first time we walked in, I thought we were, obviously it was right at the beginning, so I think it was literally maybe the first or second day that they were open here. But it was a lovely, bright space, lots of space for, I guess, activities and training. Over the last few weeks, it's become incredibly colorful. They're asking a lot of questions about how they can make it better, and I've seen each time we come there's something new. And yeah, it's just a wonderful place to be that feels very comfortable and friendly. I would say there's definitely a love-hate relationship that Mara has with the therapy center, and probably with Fabian as well. Definitely in the beginning, I think it was more of a, I wouldn't say hate, but maybe she understood that Fabian was the person who was putting her in very difficult and uncomfortable positions and asking her to do things that were very hard, which we were not asking her at home. But they have a lovely bond. Mara smiles at Fabian, and I definitely feel like she enjoys being here. She definitely enjoys when the session finishes, but I do think that she's pretty comfortable in this environment. I think when we started the DMI with Mara, Mara was just a specific shape that everybody was trying to fit into a different shape. They were trying to give her therapy, and the doctors were trying to say things that didn't feel like it was individualized for Mara. We were told not to sit her up because she couldn't sit. We were told to not do the things that she couldn't do. And again, like, not push her to her potential. And I really feel like that's what we've done over the last few months. And she's turned from a baby that I think really was sort of limited to now a very funny little girl who smiles and has a sense of humor and a personality and is doing things that we are shocked she's doing. And every single week she's doing something different. And I really think that a lot of that comes down to like Fabian and Remco and what they're doing here. They've sort of blossomed our little girl into a beautiful flower that is just amazing. And they've made everything that comes with Mara and her diagnosis totally manageable, and we're very excited to see what she'll do in the future. I remember one of the sessions, it was myself and my husband and Mara, and I think Vivian, her sister, was here as well, who loves this place. She asks all the time if she can come to Mara's therapy, but we plopped Mara down on the therapy table. At that point she wasn't really sitting or very unsteady, and we plopped her down on the table just to start the therapy session. And we let go, and she kept sitting and kept sitting and kept sitting. And I looked at Fabian, and Fabian looked at me, and then we looked at my husband, and she kept sitting, and like we were just completely blown away. And she kind of looked at us like it was the completely most normal thing in the world. And I just remember this like moment of euphoria. The three of us were screaming and clapping and jumping around. I think my daughter came running in saying like, what's happened? And it was just this like wonderful celebration of something so small and insignificant, and even not like from the training, not part of the training, but just in the beginning of the session, it was wonderful. I think she's actually really surprised us. I remember the first time when Fabian was talking about doing 2 hours a day for 6 days. I think we were totally underestimating Mara and saying, okay, that's going to be like exhausting. And each day she would come in, she would knock her therapy out of the park. We'd go home and it would be like nothing happened that day, and she would wake up the next day and be ready for it. And now we're doing the intensive sessions with 4 hours. And again, I was really worried about it, and I spoke to Fabian and I said, look, I don't know how she's going to do with 2 hours a break and then 2 hours. And so far she's taken it completely in her stride, and as always I think we're totally underestimating her, and again just pushing her to her full potential. I think that we're like completely tied into the therapy process. Fabian gives us so many things to do at home. It almost becomes one of those things that I feel like every time I'm touching Mara, we're able to make something out of it that Fabian has kind of explained, that is something related to the therapy, whether it's something with food or it's textures, something sensory, even simply, you know, dancing to music and spinning her around and around. I know now that that's also part of the therapy. So kind of Fabian's kind of, I think, given us the confidence to, and I think the knowledge to understand that so much of how you interact with your child somehow can be linked to therapy without having a degree and completely knowing it. And it just takes somebody to show you and kind of open your mind to that. And then it actually becomes very easy to do everything at home and think about things differently, and how can we do this in a way that it becomes a little bit more therapy for Mara. Obviously, we see that there's a big change and improvement in Mara, so it's wonderful to see, and we're, you know, so excited every week when she's doing something different, and we celebrate everything. There's like a logistic element to it, right? She has the 2 sessions a week, and then we also have the intensive. So, you know, between myself and my husband and other family members, right, we try and manage that. And but Remco and Fabian are very like understanding if something changes. Our other daughter loves coming here, so she's constantly asking. So anytime we can make it like a proper family outing and we all come here, I think everybody's happy, and like, yeah, we really just sort of enjoy being here all together. I would say, what do you have to lose? This is kind of the thought process that we had in the beginning. Our thought was that with Mara, we never wanted to regret that we didn't try everything and push her as much as we could. And we just thought, okay, let's give it a shot. If it works, amazing. And if it doesn't, I don't think it would have impacted her at all. And luckily for us, it's working amazingly and she's responding so well. But what harm is there to try something with your child, right? I think most parents would agree that you would try almost anything. So I would definitely say give it a go. I would say team, but team doesn't feel like it's a strong enough description of how I feel. But when Mara was diagnosed, we felt extremely alone. There was no one who was kind of standing up and telling us this is what you need to do, and it felt very scary to try and figure out this new world to navigate alone. And then we found Fabian and Remco, and it's really felt like they are completely Team Mara, just as invested in Mara as we are, really in like the outcome of like one day hopefully her walking. Yeah, it's been just a wonderful, wonderful like team to be part of, Team Mara.